Breaking news unfolded late on Christmas Eve at a quiet private airport where perfection was expected and delays were unheard of. A billionaire family, known for traveling in absolute comfort and control, arrived confident that their private jet would lift them above the chaos of holiday travel. Instead, they were met with an announcement that instantly changed the tone of the night. Their jet, a multi-million-dollar symbol of status and convenience, was grounded due to an unexpected technical malfunction. At the same time, worsening winter weather conditions sealed the decision: no takeoff, no exceptions. What was meant to be a seamless journey home for Christmas became a public reminder that even extreme wealth has limits. According to airport staff, the issue was discovered during a final routine check, just moments before departure. Engineers reported irregular readings in one of the jet's critical systems, enough to raise serious safety concerns. While commercial passengers expect delays during the holidays, private jet owners rarely encounter such resistance. Witnesses say the family initially assumed the problem would be fixed within minutes, perhaps believing that influence and money could accelerate the process. But as technicians continued their inspections and weather updates grew more concerning, it became clear that this was not a short delay. The aircraft would not be flying that night. As the news settled in, frustration filled the private terminal lounge. Phones were raised, calls were made, and demands were issued, but each response led back to the same conclusion. No pilot was willing to risk the flight. No engineer would sign off on the aircraft. No amount of pressure could change aviation safety rules. Outside, icy winds and falling snow reinforced the decision, grounding not just planes, but expectations as well. The family, accustomed to instant solutions, now faced an unfamiliar situation, waiting without control. Observers noted that the tension within the family grew as minutes turned into hours. Plans for an elaborate Christmas celebration back home began to fall apart. Carefully scheduled dinners, decorations, and guests suddenly felt distant and uncertain. For the first time that evening, the reality of the situation became personal. This was not just a delayed flight, it was the possibility of missing Christmas altogether. Around them, airport staff continued their work calmly, treating the situation as routine, which only deepened the family's discomfort. To them, this was extraordinary. To the system, it was simply protocol. What made the situation even more striking was the contrast unfolding nearby. In other sections of the airport, regular travelers dealt with their own delays, many with far fewer resources and far less comfort. Families sat on hard seats, children slept on coats, and strangers exchanged tired smiles and holiday wishes. The billionaire family, separated by glass walls and private seating, could see this ordinary reality but had rarely been part of it. That night, the distance between privilege and normal life began to shrink, not by choice, but by circumstance. Reports suggest that the family attempted to arrange alternative solutions, including securing another private jet or rerouting through a different airport. Each option failed due to the same factors: weather, availability, and holiday congestion. One by one, the usual escape routes closed. As the hours passed, impatience slowly gave way to silence. The realization settled in that Christmas would not look the way they had planned, no matter how much they were willing to spend. By late night, the private terminal felt less like a luxury lounge and more like a waiting room shared by everyone else. The family, once confident and demanding, appeared subdued. The hum of heaters, distant announcements, and quiet snowfall outside replaced the certainty they were used to. What began as a shocking inconvenience was turning into a moment of reflection. The jet remained motionless on the runway, a powerful image of wealth rendered useless by reality. This unexpected delay marked the beginning of a Christmas story few could have predicted. A family that believed they were insulated from inconvenience was now facing the same uncertainty as millions of others around the world. In that moment, the narrative shifted from luxury to vulnerability, from control to acceptance. The night was no longer about where they were going, but about what they were being forced to learn. As the night progressed, the situation surrounding the grounded jet evolved from a temporary inconvenience into a prolonged standoff with reality. Airport officials confirmed that the malfunction was not cosmetic or minor, but involved a system that could not be cleared without a full diagnostic process. With Christmas approaching by the hour, maintenance crews explained that the necessary parts and senior engineers would not be available until after the holiday. This confirmation ended any remaining hope of a quick resolution. The billionaire family, now fully aware that their jet would not be flying anytime soon, was forced to confront the emotional weight of being stranded. Early reactions were marked by visible frustration. Staff members reported sharp conversations and repeated requests for special clearance. There were calls to personal contacts, aviation managers, and private service providers across multiple cities. Each attempt reflected the family's long-held belief that solutions could always be purchased. But one by one, these calls led to the same outcome. Other private jets were either already in use, grounded due to weather, or unable to reach the airport in time. Commercial flights were overbooked or canceled. For the first time in years, every door appeared closed. As hours passed, the tone within the family began to shift. The initial anger lost its edge, replaced by fatigue and disappointment. Children who had been excited about Christmas morning at home grew restless and confused. Their questions, simple yet emotionally charged, cut through the adult conversations. When are we leaving? Will we still have Christmas? These moments introduced a different kind of pressure, one that wealth could not resolve. Observers noted that the parents, once focused on logistics and authority, now struggled to provide reassurance without real answers. Meanwhile, the broader airport environment became impossible to ignore. Due to widespread holiday delays, more passengers were being directed into shared waiting areas. The billionaire family, once isolated in a private section, now found themselves closer to ordinary travelers. In nearby seating areas, strangers shared snacks, charged phones for one another, and exchanged stories about missed connections and altered plans. Despite exhaustion, a quiet sense of togetherness emerged. Christmas music played softly over the speakers, creating an atmosphere that contrasted sharply with the earlier tension. Witnesses described a notable moment when the family's children began observing other kids their age laughing, playing simple games, and making the best of the situation. One child from another family offered a piece of candy. Another shared a joke. These small, unplanned interactions began to dissolve invisible barriers. The billionaire family's children responded not as heirs to wealth, but simply as kids stuck in the same place on Christmas Eve. For the adults, this shift was impossible to miss. The problem was no longer just the grounded jet, but the realization of how disconnected their normal life was from moments like these. Staff members also noticed changes in behavior. Requests became quieter, words more respectful. One family member was seen thanking airport workers, something observers said was absent earlier in the evening. Instead of demanding updates, they listened. Instead of isolating themselves, they watched and reflected. The long wait had stripped away the illusion of control and replaced it with shared experience. Time, which they once tried to buy, now moved at the same pace as it did for everyone else. As midnight approached, Christmas officially arrived without fanfare. There were no grand decorations, no luxury dinner, no carefully planned arrival at a private estate. Instead, there were paper cups of warm drinks, tired smiles, and the soft hum of an airport trying to manage hundreds of delayed lives at once. The billionaire family sat among strangers, experiencing a version of Christmas they had never imagined. It was quieter, simpler, and unexpectedly emotional. Reports suggest that in those late hours, conversations within the family turned inward. Plans were no longer discussed in terms of solutions, but in terms of acceptance. The focus shifted from what had gone wrong to what still remained. They were together. They were safe. And despite everything, it was still Christmas. This realization did not erase the inconvenience, but it reframed it. By the end of the night, the story had clearly moved beyond a mechanical failure. It had become a human moment unfolding in real time. The grounded jet remained outside, cold and silent, but inside the terminal, something had changed. The billionaire family, once defined by privilege and impatience, was now sharing space, time, and emotion with people they would normally pass without notice. What began as frustration was slowly transforming into understanding, setting the stage for a resolution shaped not by wealth, but by perspective. By the early hours of Christmas morning, the reality of the situation had fully settled in. The private jet remained grounded, untouched by negotiations, influence, or financial power. Weather reports continued to warn of unsafe conditions, and maintenance updates confirmed that no repairs could begin until regular operations resumed after the holiday. Faced with this certainty, the billionaire family made a decision that marked the final shift in their journey. Instead of waiting indefinitely for a perfect solution, they chose to leave the airport and find an alternative way home, even if it meant sacrificing comfort, privacy, and status. According to airport officials, the family declined further special arrangements and accepted transportation that was available to everyone else. This quiet decision, made without announcement or spectacle, surprised staff who had witnessed the earlier tension. There were no last-minute demands, no public complaints. Just acceptance. As they prepared to depart the airport by ordinary means, observers noted a visible change in demeanor. The family appeared calmer, less guarded, and more reflective. The crisis that once felt humiliating had transformed into something humbling. Later that morning, a brief statement was released through a family representative. It did not focus on inconvenience or loss, but on gratitude. The message acknowledged the efforts of airport staff, the patience of fellow travelers, and the unexpected lesson delivered by the night's events. The statement emphasized that Christmas had arrived not through luxury or control, but through togetherness and perspective. Within hours, the message began circulating online, drawing attention far beyond the airport where the incident occurred. On social media, reactions were swift and divided. Some criticized the family's initial behavior, pointing to the early frustration as evidence of entitlement. Others focused on the outcome, praising the family for acknowledging their shift in attitude and the lesson learned. Commentators noted how rare it is for stories involving extreme wealth to end with humility rather than dominance. The image of a grounded private jet on Christmas became a powerful symbol, shared across platforms as a reminder that nature, rules, and time do not bend for anyone. Analysts and cultural commentators quickly connected the incident to broader conversations about privilege and equality. In a world where wealth often creates distance from everyday struggles, this moment forced a temporary collapse of that separation. The billionaire family did not lose their fortune or status, but they lost something more immediate: control. And in that loss, they gained an experience that millions live through every holiday season: delayed travel, uncertainty, and reliance on strangers. This shared experience, even if brief, reshaped the narrative. What resonated most with the public was not the mechanical failure itself, but what followed. Reports from airport staff described the family thanking workers personally before leaving, exchanging brief holiday wishes, and moving through the terminal without special treatment. These details, small on their own, carried weight because they represented a departure from expectation. For many observers, this was the true conclusion of the story, not the grounded jet, but the grounded perspective. By the time the family reached their destination through alternative arrangements, Christmas was already well underway. There were no photographers, no press releases marking their arrival. Instead, the moment passed quietly, almost unnoticed. Yet the impact of the incident continued to grow online and in public discussion. It became a reference point in conversations about values, reminding people that moments of disruption often reveal character more clearly than moments of success. In the days that followed, media outlets revisited the story not as a travel mishap, but as a modern parable. The lesson was simple but powerful: comfort can disappear without warning, and when it does, what remains is who we are and how we treat others. The billionaire family's Christmas did not unfold as planned, but it unfolded as a reminder that humility cannot be bought, gratitude cannot be scheduled, and meaningful connection often arrives through inconvenience. As the jet eventually underwent repairs and returned to service, its significance had changed. No longer just a symbol of wealth, it had become a symbol of pause. A reminder that even the most exclusive paths can be interrupted, and that sometimes, being forced to stop is exactly what allows perspective to catch up. The story of the stranded jet faded from headlines, but its message lingered, especially during a season meant to reflect on generosity, empathy, and the things that truly matter.